I want everybody out there in TV and radio land to put their hands in the air and say, Musa, Musa, breathe in and breathe out. I have calmed down. The rage has de-escalated, it has started to evaporate. I have now found the level playing ground. I'm going to ease back into our next segment. We're going to shift from the east side of the state. We're going to go to the west and we're going to come back to the south. And in between, we're going to cover the rest of it. Gentlemen, thank you for listening to me go off on a rant on the Cardinals and how much I hate the Cubs. But with all that being said, all fun and games, we are the Missouri Sports Network, and we cover all the bases. Everyone has a home field advantage here. Gentlemen, let's talk a little bit about the Royals. I've always been a Bobby Witt Jr. fan. I know he's doing this thing, but the Royals are struggling a little bit more than the Cardinals, fellas. Guy, let's start with you. Let's talk about what's going on the other side of the state there with the Kansas City Royals.
Well, they're struggling. They're 6-18. That's they're out of their first 24. So, but their team ERA is 5.4. They're just not getting any help on the mound. Dylan Coleman, a former Missouri State pitcher, he has blown up. His ERA is like 18. They're just not getting any starting pitching. Bubic just, he's done for the season now. He had season-ending surgery today, so he's done for the year. But at the top of the lineup, they're really young with Vinny Pasquantino and Bobby Witt Jr., and they're the two top hitters. With Salvi Perez sitting in the middle of that lineup, he's going to come around. So they just need to find some kind of stopgap, in their starting rotation as well as their bullpen. They've got some guys out there, but they just can't get a lead. I mean, they got Aroldis Chapman, throwing 105 miles an hour, but he can't get on the mound because they can't get a lead. They've won back-to-back games one time this year. And of course, that was against the Giants, who just came back and beat the stupid Birds. But I think, they're still going to lose 100 games. I don't see any way around it, but they just haven't been able to develop pitching.
I hear you. DA, pitching is where it starts. If you don't have pitching, DA, you can't win in this league. You know what I mean? You can slug it all over the place, DA, but you don't have pitching, you know that they can't win, right?
Absolutely right. That's where it starts. And one thing I've noticed about the Royals in following them is that when their pitching is decent, their offense is in the tank. And when they can put up 5, 6, 7 runs, their pitching gives up 9, 10, 11 runs. So it's going to be a long year, but at the same time, it's also going to be fun to watch this young, talented group mature throughout the year. And losing Bubic hurt definitely their starting rotation, and it's going to be trial by committee for them the rest of the way out. They've got Greinke, who is probably well past his prime. He's been kind of steady Eddie for the most part, but like I said, when he's steady Eddie, the bats are dead behind him and just not getting any run support. So don't be surprised if they don't shop Salvador Perez at the deadline. I could see that happening. If I know that MLB's not teams are not supposed to use the word tank, but let's face it, teams are tanking all the time, and that's how they came up with the good talent. They had the fire sale after the World Series and wins, and they're definitely in rebuilding mode. And hey, if they got a shot at the number 1 overall pick, don't expect too many wins from them.
Well, I didn't expect too many wins from them, regardless if they got a shot or not. Hey, fellas, there's some interesting things that's happening here locally and regionally here. Of course, we're going to cover all the Missouri Sports Network, but the MSU Bears, with Coach G, old Coach Gutton, pulled off a big upset last night. Guy, tell us a little bit about that upset and who they beat, Guy.
Well, they beat the number 7 ranked Arkansas Razorbacks 8-4 last night. Now, Arkansas, their 2 best hitters were out of the lineup injured. And they're coming off getting swept, I think, by Alabama, or they're going to Alabama. But they get 6 runs in the 3rd inning, did the Bears yesterday. And the first pitch of the game, they hit a home run. On the bottom of the first, they're up 1-0, then they go down 2-1. and then they get 6 runs in that 3rd inning, and then with Trey Ziegenbein, who, I mean, he's just everyday Trey. He can throw and throw and throw, and he's had to get cortisone shots, and he just broke the appearance record for the university as far as appearances by a pitcher at 89 appearances. He's really struggled, but now these cortisone shots, he's kind of got back where he can do that midweek stuff, every now and then. But he gives them 3 great innings. Reed Metz gives them 3 great innings there, and the Bears now 23-16 overall, 11-4 in the conference, so they've creeped back up into 2nd place in the conference, and they're going to battle out with Southern Illinois and Indiana State. Indiana State's in 1st place. Southern Illinois is in 3rd, just behind the Bears. The Bears, they've got Valparaiso coming in this weekend, then they go to Missouri State. I'm sorry, they go to Murray State. And then they've got Southern Illinois and Indiana State at the back end of their schedule, so that's going to determine where they're seated. And if you go back to last year, they were seeded 6th in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament, and they won it. And they had to come out. They came back, and they won that tournament. So they got to go to a regional there. But they're getting hot right now, and their bats, they can flat swing it. And, that as the weather warms up at Hammonds Field with that wind blowing out, you're going to see a lot of balls leave the park.
Yeah, Coach G's been keeping this program up and running for over 30 years. What are your thoughts on Coach Gutton and the consistency that he shows every year?
That's amazing to be doing it at a quote unquote mid-major school. He can go out and compete on the recruiting trail with just about anybody, and he is good at finding the diamonds in the rough. And I mean, he's been at it 40 some years, so he knows what he's doing, and he's lasted in a tough profession that long. So it's just the same old for him. The front end of his schedule is loaded heavy. If you look at their early, February, early March schedule, there's a few L's there, but he's playing some people, and I think it prepares him for the conference run, and then hopefully for the NCAA Super Regional.
You're right. He can definitely find those diamonds in places that you never thought that you'd see him. Been knowing him since I was over there, and so he's a St. Louis guy. Very proud of him. But let's kind of move it around a little bit here, and let's talk about some local baseball. Guy, you and I had all 3 of us that kind of discussed earlier off air about some local teams that we felt were making some moves and were playing good baseball here on the high school level.
Yeah, you look at we talked about last week. We talked about Ash Grove being the only remaining undefeated team in the state. They took on a very good Clever team last night. It was 21-1 coming into that matchup, and a class larger than them, and they defeated Clever 6-2 last night. They're getting they've got two real good guys on the mound, and then they've got a number 3 and a number 4 that can kind of pick it up in these midweek games, but a little pressure on them. I've talked to one of the players' fathers, and they've been talking to his father. Maybe we need to blow one here before we go into districts, and But I'm looking at their remaining schedule. They shouldn't lose the rest of the way out, and they're going to be the 1 seed in that district. Other game, you had number 1 Rogersville in Class 4. They took on a number 3 ranked Springfield Catholic team. He had 2 D1 guys going out on the mound with Corey Sutherland throwing for Rogersville, and he ends up hitting a 3-run homer in the game. They had Ben Smith, who's a commit to Mizzou, throwing for Springfield Catholic. Really wasn't a game. It was 12-2 going into the 7th, and Springfield Catholic gets a grand slam in their half of the 7th to make it 12-6. So 12-6, a little closer than what it really was. Then you go up in the St. Louis area, and the number 1 team in Class 6 is Fort Zumwalt West, and they took on the number 5 team in Class 6 in Francis Howell Central, and Francis Howell gets them 4-2. Eureka is playing really well right now, and they beat a number 10 ranked team in Marquette 7-1. Camdenton, they go up and they put their Wichita State guy on the mound, and they face Glendale, and they shut them out 9-0. And I was talking with Coach Jim Julian at the leadoff club on Monday, just said, hey, is that the best arm you've seen all year? He said, well, we've seen some good ones at Liberty North and Staley, but he said that's probably the best arm we've seen. And he is a Wichita State commit. And the thing is, he's got a younger brother that's also a Wichita State commit, who's number 2 for them. And Coach Bryce Durnan is the head coach. Kate Durnan, Cale Durnan, and Cole Durnan are his sons, and they're playing really well right now. They're going to be a tough out, and they're in the same district, Camdenton and Glendale, and then you're going to add a Willard team to that district who's went to 4 of the last 5 Final Fours with Coach Scott McGee. And, talking to him, he feels like this is the best team he's had during this run, but they're, 17-10 or something like that. But it's going to be a challenge. And you talk about that Rogersville Springfield Catholic game, number 1 versus number 3, they're in the same district. So the baseball health overall at the high school level in Southwest Missouri is as good as it's been in probably 30 years. St. Louis, and rightfully so, they controlled that, especially in the larger classes with the CBCs, the Westminster Christians, the Mianis, the Marquettes of the past. And they've kind of controlled that state championship level there now. Now you've got the guys like Willard have broken through in recent years. Springfield Catholic and Rogersville have broken through in recent years. So it's going to be a lot of fun as we head into district time, and they'll be seeding for districts that week of May the 10th.
Well, Joe, we're running a little bit heavy on this segment, but DA, let's talk really quickly about some of the other regional collegiate teams that have been making some moves, if you can, please. Guy, take it over. I think we might have lost DA. I know we had spoke about most Southern, some other teams that kind of wrap it up for us real quick for me, Guy.
Well, Missouri Baptist 37-5 on the year. They're having a great year. Central Missouri University in Warrensburg, they're having a tremendous year. Drury did go up and defeat them this past week.
Big victory.
In Central Methodist, you can always count on them to make a run.
Solid programs. Thank you, my friend. Hey, we ran a little long on this segment. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. We'll be right back for our last segment. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Huddle Up here in the Pizza Ranch studio here on Missouri Sports Network. We'll be right back.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in.